Hello viewers, welcome to my Doctor Who themed YouTube channel, Who Ventures, and in this video I'm reviewing Doctor Who Series 12 Episode 7, Can You Hear Me? So we have a pre-credits bit this time, and it's in Aleppo in Syria in 1830, and we see Tahira, and she's been having some fun at the souk, and she goes back to this, I think it's like one of the earliest mental hospitals or psychiatric hospitals or a nunnery. I wasn't sure at that point, and she's warning Mariam to be careful about these big creatures that are coming, and they're called Changaskas. And then this big creature comes, and it's like a big werewolfy creature, and he's got really long claws, and he puts his hand over Mariam's mouth, and he's got big claws, and there's lots of roaring and screaming and stomping and big teeth. Then we get the titles, and we have warp warp sound on the subtitles, which is awesome, and they're back in Sheffield, and Yaz and Ryan and Graham, they're going off to do Earth stuff, and at this point we don't know what Yaz is going off to do, so Yaz is a bit annoyed that Doctor's late, and at first I thought, oi, that's a bit rude, but then you realise later on why it's so important to her. So the Doctor's left on her own in the TARDIS, and she's like really lonely because she likes to talk to the fam, and she's like, what, I could always nip to tomorrow lunchtime. And then the creepy guy, who turns out he's called Salon, he sort of appears from smoke in the TARDIS, and he sees the Doctor, then he disappears again. So Yaz's come home and to get a cuddle from her sister, and her sister's cooked dinner for them. And Ryan is at his mate's house, Tebow, because he got some messages from him, like where are you, Ryan, and stuff like that. And Tebow's don't really, he's a bit like, he don't really want to let him in, and Ryan's like, I got chips too. I love that. I got chips too. Catchphrase of the series, maybe. And then so his mate lets him in, and then Graham's playing cards with his mates from the Buzzies, for Gabriel and Fred, and he's talking about how he goes on these cruises. And the Doctor's on her own in Syria. She bursts out the TARDIS doing it. So this place is this, and this, and did you know, and that, and then she looks around and says, oh, there's no one to talk to. I love that. I love 13. She's so relatable, and I'm just really disappointed she hasn't had any cuddles, proper big cuddle from any of the fam. If she doesn't want to be touched, or she doesn't like it, that's totally relatable, but it's just sad because I see her being sad and I want to cuddle her, but Yaz doesn't cuddle her. They just do that eye thing, which is very intense and very good, but somebody cuddle her. I mean, I'm not that much of a fan of River's song, but if River came back, then I would hope that 13 got some cuddles. Anyway, back to the plot. So she arrives in Syria, and this Bimaristan, which is a sick place, a hospital, and she just wants to chat to her fam, but then she hears some crying, and she finds Tahira, and who tells her the nurses have been attacked by a big monster, and then the Doctor is looking rather sonic, but there's no readings. Then Graham, at his home with the card game, he starts seeing this visions of this woman crying. She's like, and he thinks she's saying like, help me, Graham. And then Ryan and T-Bow playing FIFA, and T-Bow's he's like upset, but he doesn't want to tell Ryan because he thinks Ryan will think it's weird, but obviously Ryan won't think it's weird, but he don't want to tell him, and he starts telling him about he's been having these nightmares and there's a creepy guy watching him, and this creepy guy was in his house. So Ryan believes him, and T-Bow asked him to stay over so he can go to sleep and feel safer. And Yaz is with her sister eating, and Sonia tells her she got sacked, and that at this point we don't know what they're marking, but they're marking something with an anniversary dinner, but it seems like this is a sort of a secret from the parents, so because the parents have just gone off on a date out, so it must be some sort of secret that they kept from the parents. Then Yaz falls asleep at the movie, and we go into Yaz's dream, and Yaz is on the road, and his sister's there on the road, and this policewoman in the creepy guy is in Yaz's house. Then Ryan is at his mate's house, sleep on the sofa. Then this creepy guy, his fingers come off and they go flying into the people's ears who are asleep, and he's downloading their dreams. And basically, for this, the woman in the ball that Graham's seeing, that's the other god called Rakaya, and Salim is basically the boss of Netflix. He's making all these Netflix shows for Rakaya to watch out of people's dreams. So the Doctor and Tahira are looking for the creatures. Tahira lost a family when she was 7, and then Ryan, Yaz and Graham's phoning the Doctor, and she puts him on call mode. She says she's going to come and pick him up with Tahira. So she found some hair which she thinks is from the fear of the creature, but she sticks it in a forensic stuff, and it has no record. It won't identify what creatures the fear's from. And Ryan and Yaz say they've seen this same creepy bloke, but Graham saw this trapped woman and planets. And so they treat Graham like the A to Z, and they put a scanner on his head so the TARDIS can read his mind and teleport them to the place that he's seeing. So they end up in this deep space high-tech place. The past the guest gone straight, and it's in geostationary orbit, and the Doctor finds these strings that you can change the viewer screen with, and she finds out there's 2 planets that are just about to collide, but in between them is this a georb in between these planets, and there's a woman trapped inside it. And then hooked up into this space place they're on, there's loads of fingers, and the fingers are feeding the signals into the girl. So the technology is powering the orb, and the orb is a prison. Tahira goes off exploring, and there's one of the monsters that wants to get in. It's called a Changaska, and then Yaz is shouting for the fam, is that where's Tahira? And then we see some smoke, and we go into Yaz's dream and see it properly. And Yaz is on the road, and it's her sister taunting her and calling her weak, and Yaz is actually alone and on her own, and that's her nightmare. Ryan's dream is about fire, and that he left T-Bow, and he remembers the dregs, and T-Bow's an old guy, been waiting for Ryan, and Ryan's not been there. And Graham's dream is about he's in the hospital, and Grace is there, and she tells him his cancer's come back, and that Grace is angry that he didn't save her, and that the doctor's with the Sonic and the TARDIS. Then she finds out who this creepy guy is. He's called Salin, and the Time Lords thought Salin was thought to be a god. And then he plays his games. He refers to the Celestial Toy Maker. I haven't watched those stories yet, but I will, and I'll be doing like reviews about them, but I'm not sure what format yet. So, and then he can provoke fear in humans, and then he transmits the nightmares to Rakaya, and he's talking about how good the humans are because they have these nightmares and self-doubt and fear, and that he can make loads of really good like psychic Netflix shows for Rakaya. So he used the Doctor's instincts to get to Earth and help people to break the lock and free Rakaya. And then we get a beautiful animation which is really well done. It reminds me of the TEDx videos on YouTube with the animation. There's very good animation about Salin and Rakaya and how these planets were going to go together. And the Salin and Rakaya, they sort of teleport down to Earth, and they're walking down the street, and they talk about humans being tiny ephemeral flashes of existence, and that they feel so much, Rakaya, from all the human emotions. Then the Doctor's we see a flash, and the Doctor's in Gallifrey, and we see the Timeless Child flashback, but we don't get like any information. And then she wiggles, she's found that she's trapped, and so she gets a Sonic, and she uses it on one of the fingers, and Salin is trying to get all these nightmares from people, and we see him putting his fingers in people's ears and the kid's ear to get the nightmare. So then Salin creates a creature to taunt the people. Then the Doctor does an amazing speech about humans are magnificent, and she says this in front of the fam, and I think that's means a lot. And then to hear it is controlling the Changaska, because this is her fear. So Salin has made it real, and the Changaskas attacking, and they trap Salin and Rakaya in the geostationary orb with the monster Changaska. So they're stuck with the big scary monster in this tiny little orb. And then they rescued people because T-Bow got sacked to this spaceship, and there's some other people there, so everyone was in TARDIS jacuzzi. So I like how we hear about lots of bits from the TARDIS. And then Ryan is saying goodbye to T-Bow. He's going off adventuring again, and he tells T-Bow to talk about how he's feeling and his depression. And then T-Bow goes to like this group therapy thing, and he's talking, and that's really good. Then we see Yaz, and 3 years earlier she was running away because she was being bullied and not doing well at school, and she wasn't having a good time. So but then this policewoman came to see her because his sister called to say she was worried about Yaz, and the policewoman says, offers if it's still crap in 3 years, then the policewoman will give her 50 quid. But if it's got better, Yaz gives the policewoman 50p, and Yaz realises that that the policewoman is right, and she goes and gives her 50p, and they talk. And the Graham is talking to the doctor about his fears, and the doctor is like, understand the doctor, she's quite socially awkward, so she wants to go to the console, and so she can get what she has to say right. And the future episodes give a lot more context to this too, and because Graham's expecting her to say something that's like reassuring, but she doesn't know what to say, because what can she say, like? But she wants to get it right. And I totally understood how when she's fighting the aliens 13, she's in a zone and she knows what she's doing, she's defending things. But when it's just one-on-one with humans, it's difficult. And then Ryan and Yaz are having this conversation, and Ryan's like, but is this we're aging and we're just leaving them behind? And then Yaz says, yeah, but the doctor can take you back wherever at any point you want. And he's talking about that. And then I thought it was excellent how they had the helpline after the episode, and I thought this was a beautiful episode. I thought it was very well done, and except it was a bit tricky the few days after the episode, because talking about when the doctor was socially awkward, and I got a bit upset about that and stuff. But I thought it was a very well done episode, and yeah, so I hope you have enjoyed this review, and thank you for watching. Yay!